Welcome back to another episode of Indie Reads Aloud. This is where we share stories written by indie authors. Today, Joan Havelange is going to share her story, Wayward, with us. And Joan is coming all the way from Manitoba, Canada. So thank you, Joan, for joining us.
Thank you.
I'm going to tell everyone a little bit about you. For those of you who have not read Joan yet, she's been writing fiction since her early 20s, beginning with romance stories. Always a fan of mysteries, she is an avid reader and writer of cozy mysteries. She's an accomplished actor and director of community theater, which lends well to her writing. Joan is a world traveler and enthusiastic golfer. She lives on the prairies and has 3 grown children. Excellent. Yay. I'm so glad to meet you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Diana.
This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm always excited when I get to hear new stories. So this is going to be a good time. So the story you're going to read today is Wayward Shot. When Mabel slices her golf ball into the town cemetery, she and her best friend Violet think the worst that can happen would be a lost ball. That is, until they discover a dead body, and it isn't 6 feet under. Mabel's golf ball lays in the middle of his forehead. It's murder. The ladies take it upon themselves to solve the mystery of the dead body in the graveyard. Using the information gleaned from Coffee Row, a collection of eccentric townspeople. This leads them to investigate golfers and relatives of the deceased. Their investigation frustrates a newly appointed RCMP officer who does his best to put a stop to their interference. But nothing stops the intrepid detectives, not the RCMP, a stampede of cattle, or even shots fired at them in the dark. They have an uncanny ability to find trouble and dead bodies, almost getting themselves killed before solving the murders. This sounds like a great story. I am super excited about this. I have so many questions, and we'll have to get back to those questions on another day. But first of all, I'd like to know, what was your favorite part about writing this book?
I like the puzzle. I like to solve puzzles, and I like to give the readers a puzzle, and I like humor along with mystery. So
excellent. It sounds like cozy mystery is your perfect genre.
Yes, I feel it is. Yes, thank you.
Excellent. Well, Joan, whenever you're ready, please read aloud.
Okay, thank you, Diana. First, I'm going to tell you a wee bit about the ladies. Mabel and Violet, as I think I said on the back, are retired nurses, best friends. Violet is a tall, thin redhead and a bit of a clean freak and a kind of a by-the-book type of gal. Mabel is short, pudgy, has snow white hair, and she's a take the bulls by the horns. Rules are suggestions for her. This is their first murder investigation, and every investigation they do does not always turn out well, as you will see. Chapter 17. Violet drove her car down the gravel grid road leading to Stanley Huckabee's farm. "I'm parking," she said, slowing her car down, pulling over to the side of the road. "I'm not sure we should confront Stanley at night." She drummed her fingers on the steering wheel. "He could be dangerous if he suspects we suspect him. He might have killed Alan, and he might try and kill us. No one would ever find our bodies because no one would know we went to his farm. The perfect murders. We need to rethink this. No one knew we were at Jerry's. We didn't worry." "Yes, but that was daylight and in town." "What about Sam? He's on a farm." "True, but it was daylight, and we had reason to go visit him, the grieving family and all that." "Okay, I suppose we should be a little more cautious," Mabel agreed reluctantly. Violet powered down her window, staring out in the darkening landscape. Thick clouds obscured the moon. It was getting darker by the minute. The countryside was still, not even a breeze. She could hear the frogs and the crickets. the calm before the storm. It looked like rain was in the offing. Well, we can stay here parked in the dark all night, or we can find out if Stanley has been up to anything. He's our main suspect. And tonight we found out he golfs. And Alan was killed with a golf club. And we know Stanley didn't get along with Alan, Mabel said. I hate to miss a chance to investigate. We're so close to his farm. Violet tapped her fingers on the steering wheel. She was certain this was a wild goose chase. But once Mabel got a bee in her bonnet, there was no stopping her. I suppose we could drive up in the reproach. If I park not far enough in from the road, no one will notice my car. Then we can sneak across Stanley's pasture to his farm and look. But I don't know what we're looking for. We'll know it when we see it. Mabel opened the glove compartment, rummaging inside. I don't see a flashlight. Don't you have one in the car? No, but don't worry, our eyes will adjust to the dark. Violet started up her car and drove to the nearby approach. She backed her car in a few yards from the road. Satisfied her car was hidden, she climbed out. The night was eerily quiet, except for the rustling in the tall grass. And then a coyote howled off in the distance. Ooh, that's an unnerving sign. Mabel closed the car door, her eyes darting around. City girl, teased Violet, noting her friend's nervousness. Well, you're not much of a farm girl either. You won't even get on a horse, Mabel teased. Stepping over Gopher Hole, she trotted to the barbed wire fence. They're big animals. Have you seen their teeth? They're huge, and their hooves are enormous. One step and they crush your feet. Besides, you're no Dell Evans either, defended Violet, following Mabel to the fence. You wouldn't even pet a goat at the fair. We're talking coyotes here, not goats. I bet you'd outrun me if one of those varmints came close. That wouldn't be hard to do, Violet chuckled. Whatever, we can't stand here talking all night. Come on, that's Stanley's yard in the distance, Mabel said, getting down on her hands and knees. Violet followed suit, getting down on her knees in the tall grass. The women crawled under the barbed wire fence and stood on the other side of the fence and brushed off their hands and knees. Then they struck off towards the yard light in the distance. They'd only gone a short way when Violet complained, I've got a rock in my sandal. Wait, let me hold on to you. She put her hand on Mabel's shoulder and dumped out her sandal. They continued a few more feet. Now I've got straw in my sandal, she grumbled. Really, Violet? Try being as close to the ground as I am. I got straw sticking up my shorts, and I think I've stepped in every gopher hole in Saskatchewan. Where's this night vision you promised? Mabel asked. I think this is a bad idea. We don't even know what we're looking for. And what on earth will we find in the dark on Stanley's farm? Oh my gosh, do you see that? Car lights. I bet that's Stanley coming home. It is. He's pulling into his yard, Violet panicked. Come on, we got to get out of here. Ew, what did I step in? Yuck, a cow patty, Mabel shrieked, wiping her sandal on the dry grass. You're not getting in my car with those shoes. You hear that? Mabel whispered. She stopped in her tracks. Violet couldn't see anything, but she heard something huge coming towards them. I do. What is it? Oh my gosh, I can feel the ground vibrate. Violet froze. 7 sounds of heavy, lumbering footprints and horrendous laboring breathing were coming closer. What the heck? Who are they? Oh my Lord, there's lots of them, Violet squealed, backing up, stumbling into Mabel. The hideous, heavy breathing was followed by snorting and mooing. It's cows! We're surrounded by cows, Violet shrieked. Oh no, oh dear, what do they want with us? The cows came ever nearer, mooing louder and louder, milling around the women. Mabel and Violet panicked, bumping into each other as they made a mad dash to safety. The women fled, turning in opposite directions. Mabel, bunted by a big lumbering cow, spun around, falling to the ground. Scrambling up on a small rock, she stood frantically waving her hands. Shoo, 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 get out of here, go, 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 she yelled. The cows moved just as frantically, circling and trampling around Mabel. The damp, pungent odor of manure wafted up from the animals. Oh, no, she howled. A big, soft, slimy tongue licked her feet. Yuck, Mabel moaned, Another cow joined in, licking her feet. She lifted one foot, then the other. The cows had no preference to which one they licked. Mabel could hear Violet yelling at her, but she couldn't make out what Violet was saying over the belling of the cows. "Don't you dare leave me," Mabel whimpered. Trying to make herself small, she squeezed her feet together. The cows continued to nudge and lick her feet. "Get off there, that's a salt lick. The cows are after the salt," screamed Violet. A cow lumbered past her on its way towards Mabel. Be calm, Violet recited a mantra to herself as she forced herself between two snorting, mooing beasts. "If I'm calm and I walk calm, cows will be calm." She valiantly pushed her way through the herd of milling cows that surrounded her. Violet's goal was to rescue Mabel, but she was terrified one of the big, smelly animals would step on her foot and crush it. "This is like trying to push over a tree," she moaned. She was being pressed between them, rocked from one cow to the other. Violet let out a yelp as a warm, slimy nose nuzzled her neck. She stumbled, managing to regain her feet just in time to avoid another cow tramping past her. A loud, thunderous roar of a shotgun broke through the night. The first blast was followed by another, quickly sending the herds into a frenzy. The bellowing cows stampeded, charging, pushing against each other. A frightened cow slammed into Mabel, shoving her off the salt lick onto the ground. "Who's out there? I've got a shotgun. Get the hell off my property," Stanley Huckabee yelled. Another blast echoed through the night. The cows bellowed even louder, panicking. The panicked herd went out in all directions. Violet reached for Mabel. "Grab my hand, Mabel, and stay close to the ground," she screamed over the mooing cows. "I am on the ground. Save yourself. Run," Mabel shrieked. Violet grabbed Mabel's hand and pulled her friend to her feet as the four panicked cows trampled past. Another shotgun blast rang out, followed by the sound of a tractor starting out. "I'm coming for you, you bastards," Stanley shouted over the roar of the tractor. Mabel and Violet bent close to the ground and ran, their feet slipping in the soft soil. Mabel fell. Violet yanked her to the feet. The women reached the fence, dropped to their knees as they crawled through the tall grass under the barbed wire fence. Violet's golf shirt caught on a barb and ripped. "Quick, he's on the tractor. He's coming for us," Violet shrieked, scrambling into the car, grabbing her keys from her pocket. She revved the motor, waiting for Mabel to climb in. "Don't turn on the car lights," Mabel screamed, crouching down the passenger seat, locking the door. "The lights are automatic. There's nothing can be done about them," Mabel screamed back. She gunned the motor, spinning the tires. Stones sprayed up as the car shut off their approach onto the gravel road. "Oh my gosh, how close was that? Do you think he saw us?" Violet asked, speeding down the grid road. The car swerved on the loose gravel, kicking up loose stones that pinged off the fender wells and sounded like gunshots. "I don't know. Maybe he thinks we're rustlers. I hope so." Violet slowed the car down and fastened her seatbelt. "What a maniac, shooting at us with a shotgun. For goodness sakes, he's crazy." Mabel looked down at her shoes. "I'm sorry about your car, Violet. I got cow crud on my shoes," she apologized. "It can't be helped. Don't worry, it's not your fault. I'll clean the car in the morning. This was a stupid idea from the get-go. We should never got out in the pasture." "I know. I'm sorry. It was stupid. What a moron that man is, shooting in the dark. That idiot could have killed us. Nevertheless, we still need to investigate Stanley. We have to think of another way, one without cows." "Yes, but in the morning. I'm done like dinner. I crawled through a window, I got chased by cows, and then shot it in the dark. In my book, that's enough for one day." Violet turned on her car lights on high beam. "Oh, and I lost my glasses and ripped my shirt." "Lost your glasses?" "Either in the pasture or in the ditch when he made a run for it." "You lost your glasses and you're driving?" Mabel looked across at Violet for the first time since their escape. Don't worry. I can still see big things like cars," Violet grinned. The next morning, Violet shifted the old pair of eyeglasses back up on her nose and glanced up at the clear morning sky. There was no sign of the promised rain. She bent to her task, cleaning the inside of the car. The floor mats lay washed on her lawn. The vacuum cleaner hummed as she vacuumed the floor. A hand touched her shoulder. She squealed and jumped, bumped her head on the steering wheel. She looked over her shoulder to find Jerry Franklin standing next to her, clutching her dirty chili pot in his hand. "Hey," he said. "Goodness, Jerry, you gave me a fright. I didn't hear you." She shut off her vacuum cleaner and stood, brushing her hands on the seat of her shorts. Jerry held out her dirty chili pot. "Here, I bought your pot back. Thanks for the chili. It was good." His hands were shaking. Violet's eyes widened and her lips curled down as she accepted the sticky tomato-encrusted pot. "You're welcome, Jerry. I'm glad you liked it. Thanks for bringing my pot back. How are you?" she asked, feeling awkward. She recalled the fight Jerry and Eric had at the driving range. Jerry looked terrible. His eyes were red, his nose was swollen, his hair was a greasy mess, and the clothes looked like he slept in them. "Not too good," he shuffled from foot to foot, wiping his runny nose on the back of his sleeve. "I'm sorry to hear that," Violet waited, unsure what else to say. She also remembered their hasty exit from his house. Jared hadn't taken kindly to their questions, and she and Mabel had not left on the best of terms with him. "Can you lend me some money?" he blurted out. "I'll pay you back when the stupid well thing is all sorted out." "You're right. You don't get the money right away." "What a bunch of crap. It's my money." Violet looked warily at the boy. His eyes were darting around. Why was Jerry asking her for money? "What about all that stuff in your parents' house? You put them in the truck. Didn't you sell it?" "I didn't get squat for it," Jerry snarled, eyeing Violet's car. "Can't even sell Dad's truck. Bastards say I can't until the damn will goes through the probate. Whatever the hell that is. It's not fair." Violet pushed the car door shut with her hip. She didn't like the way he was looking at her car. The keys were in the ignition. "Jerry, you should ask your uncle if you need help. I don't think it would be a good idea for me to give you money." "Why not? Why can't you give me some?" Jerry shoved Violet up against the car. "You got lots. Look at all this stuff. You got a house, a car, you got lots of money." Without waiting for an answer, he turned and charged up the steps to Violet's house. "Stop!" Violet yelled, running awkwardly after him with the chili pot in her hands. "Jerry, stop. Stop where you are. You can't go in my house," she shouted at him. "Who's going to stop me?" Jerry sneered. He ripped open the door, letting it slam shut in Violet's face. She wrenched open the door, going in after him. "Jerry, what do you think you're doing? Get out of my house this instant," Violet demanded. Jerry ignored her, tramping through the kitchen into her living room. His eyes darted around the room. His lips curled into a sneer when he saw her television. "What a piece of garbage. Why do you watch TV on that piece of crap?" "There's nothing wrong with my TV. It works perfectly well." It crossed her mind she was defending her property to a potential thief. She nervously touched her dirty chili pot and followed him into the dining room. Jerry opened the door to Violet's china cabinet and looked inside. Junk, bunch of old crap. He slammed the cabinet door shut. A small china bird fell over. Violet bit her lip as the tiny wing broke off. "Jerry, you better leave before you get into trouble. Your mom would be appalled at your manners." "You leave my mom out of this," Jerry screamed at her. He pushed past her, shoving her up against the wall, storming into her bedroom. Violet gasped for breath and followed Jerry into her bedroom. He was pulling open one drawer after another, tossing the contents on the floor. She was horrified. He must be looking for money or jewelry, she thought. She set her dirty chili pot on her dresser and reached in the pocket of her shorts for her phone. She took the phone out of her pocket and held it down by her side out of sight. Violet clutched the phone in her hand and debated. She should press 911, but if she did, she would have to tell the police what was happening and where, and Jerry might hear her. She pressed Mabel's number. Chapter 18. Mabel turned off the water tap and picked up her little nail brush. "I should wear garden gloves like Violet," she muttered, scrubbing the dirt from under her nails. The phone rang. Startlingly, she dried her hands on a paper towel and picked up the receiver. Mabel smiled. It was Violet's cell phone number. "Good morning. Did you get the manure smell out of your car?" "Jerry, you no business in my house. I'm asking you nicely to leave. Stop. What are you doing here? Get out before I call for help." Violet's voice, muffled voice said. It took a second for her to realize Violet was calling for help. Jerry Franklin was in Violet's house and threatening her. Mabel slammed down the phone and rushed out the door. Fred Granger and his little dog Pokey were walking down the sidewalk towards Mabel. What's the rush? Where's the fire? It's Violet, Mabel panted, rushing past him. Fred changed direction and charged after her. Pokey's little legs had trouble keeping up with Fred. He bent down, scooped up the little dog into his arms and ran past Mabel. I called the RCMP, Jerry. Violet held up her phone. Jerry came out of the closet with her purse in his hand. You old bitch. He opened her purse, dumping the contents onto her bed. I'll be long gone before the cops get here. He ripped over her wallet and pulled out a cash and her debit cards and her credit cards. Give me your codes now, he demanded. Jerry, it won't do you any good. You're in enough trouble already. Don't do this, pleaded Violet. Give me your PIN numbers now, Jerry snarled. He stuffed the money and cards in his pocket and backed Violet out of the bedroom and then down the hall. Now, old lady, you'll be sorry. It'll be a long time before the cops get here, and you'll be one sorry old bag if you don't tell me. Tell me now, he threatened. Violet turned and fled down the hallway into the kitchen. Jerry caught her easily and slammed her shoulders up against the wall. Violet's head ricocheted off the wall, making her dizzy. She felt faint. He leered into her shocked eyes and shook his fist in front of her nose. He punched his fist into the wall, inches from her face, leaving a hole in the drywall. Tell me, Jerry screamed, or the next one is going to smash in your skinny nose. His eyes crazed, he drew back his fist. Violet screamed. The door flew open and Fred and his little dog burst through. Fred stopped in the doorway. Hey, he shouted. Jerry's clenched fist was inches from Violet's face. Seconds behind Fred, Mabel came panting up the steps. Jerry spun around. Son of a bitch, he cursed, letting go of Violet. He pushed past the stunned Fred and shoved Mabel back down the steps. She fell on the sidewalk below. Jerry tore down the street. Mabel scrambled to her feet, rushing back up the stairs and past the shocked Fred, who was standing in the doorway with his little dog Pokey in his arms. Violet, are you okay? Mabel panted. She hugged Violet. Are you okay? He pushed you down the steps. Violet was shaking and sobbing. What the heck is going on here? I thought Violet had a heart attack, and then I see this. What the heck? Fred put Pokey on the floor and rushed over to Violet and Mabel. They were shaking like leaves, hanging onto each other. You both better sit down, he urged. Fred, please call the RCMP, Mabel requested, holding on to Violet, patting her on the back. I will, but first, please sit down. He led them to the kitchen table, pulling out a chair for Violet and another for Mabel. Mabel sat holding Violet's hands, tears streaming down her face. You're not going to faint, are you? Fred looked worriedly at them as he dialed 911. I hope no one's going to faint. Oh, Violet, I can't believe this happened. I'm so sorry I got you into this mess, Mabel said, wiping the tears from her face with the back of her hand. No, this had nothing to do with you, Violet cried, laying her head on Mabel's shoulder, shuddering and sobbing. Fred put his phone back into his pocket. I called the RCMP, he said. They're sending someone. I told them to look for Jerry Franklin. I told him he threatened you. Fred looked with concern at the two women. And he robbed me, Violet said. And he was going to hit me. Thank you both for coming to my rescue. I don't even want to think what would happen if the two of them, if you two hadn't come. Her voice wavered, tears continued to flow. Mabel gave her another hug, tears running down her cheek. Mabel, don't you dare cry, because if you do, I will. I hate to tell you this, but you already are. Mabel smiled at Violet and wiped her tears with her hand. I'll make a cup of tea. Fred set a box of tissues on the table. Violet pulled a wad of tissues from the box. Thank you, Fred. The tea's in the little yellow container by the stove. She blew her nose and wiped her eyes. Mabel, would you please go get the china cups? I'm afraid to stand. I'm too shaky. Pokey came over to sniff Violet. She smiled, looked down at the little dog. She reached down to pet him, just as he lifted his leg to pee on her kitchen chair. Oh no, she yelled. That's it for today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I am on the edge of my seat. It's time for me to go start reading your book. I need to know what's going on.
Well, I
Thank
did
you.
start in the middle, so it was a little hard to follow maybe.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Joan. I really appreciate it. We will look for you to come back and read again to us from another one of your stories.
Thank you so much, Diana.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.